The initial framing and structure of a home is a big deal, not only in the materials, but also in laying the foundation. If you've ever played Jenga, built a tower, or simply just stacked blocks, you know that that initial foundation is the determining factor as to whether or not your structure is going to stand and last. And with your home, it's no different. Hi. My name is Janelle Smith. I'm a real estate professional in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia. And my main goal is to help you with where you live and how you live. So today we're doing that through the discussion of crawl spaces. We're going to discuss the different types of crawl spaces and any types of maintenance that's required and the differences between the two. Houses typically have two main types of foundations. There are concrete slabs, and then there's also a crawl space foundation. So with a concrete slab, it's exactly what it sounds like. It is one huge sheet of concrete that is laid out on the ground. There are spaces for the plumbing pipes to come up, so the plumbers will go ahead and make sure that those pipes are extending and slightly raised so that when the concrete is laid, you have access to the plumbing. And then as the builder continues to build out the floor plan, they can tie into that plumbing for your kitchen faucets, your bathtub, your toilets, etc. So that is your concrete. Bentley, no. So on your crawl space foundation, you have a similar concept of a concrete base, but the concrete is raised on the outline of the home instead of just one big solid piece. So with the crawl space, you'll consider this somewhat of like a cookie cutter. You have the metal exterior, it's slightly raised, so you have the imprint, and that's what you're getting with the crawl space foundation. So there's a small space from the grounds, between the grounds and the flooring of the home. And it's usually anywhere between 1 to 3 feet, sometimes a little bit smaller, sometimes bigger. But the main idea is that there's just enough space for someone to crawl under. With that, there are also entry points for the crawl space. So a lot of times you'll see access panels around the edge of the house, and that will be a big cue that this is built on a crawl space foundation. Now, some people have a preference on which type of foundation that they prefer, where the concrete foundation or the concrete slab requires less routine maintenance. It also has some limitations. So in the event that there's a plumbing leak that is underneath the foundation, you would have to have a professional come in to break up the concrete, access the plumbing pipes to locate the leak, go ahead and make the repair, and then relay the concrete, and in addition to any flooring that may have had to come up during that process. This is a little bit different than with a crawl space because a lot of times you have the access to the plumbing by just going underneath the home. With that being said, there are more inspections required and some preliminary moisture barriers and things to prevent moisture from building up underneath the home of a crawl space. A big concern for a lot of people is the shifting that you often see, and that's very common in homes, whether it's built on a concrete slab or on a crawl space. So with both of those, when you're wondering whether or not your home has any shifting, some of the things that you'll notice is maybe an unleveled flooring. You may see cracks in the drywall or the walls of the home, and even in the door frames where the doors do not open and close as easily as they did before. All of those things are common. A professional would be able to come in and provide recommendations on whether the house needs lifting, additional support in order to level everything out and make it all brand new again. Another important factor is the location of the foundation. A foundation is only as solid as the ground that it rests on. So if you find yourself inquiring or potentially purchasing land that is built near water, any type of river, lakes, marshes, you definitely want to be in touch with your code enforcement, zoning, and potentially even environmentalists, just to ensure that the land that you're anticipating building on is stable enough to be able to hold a structure the size of a home. You also want to be mindful when you're purchasing a home if a home is in a flood zone. Oftentimes, with homes in flood zones, you have water that is rising or that is encroaching upon your property line, and that can deteriorate away from the foundation and cause some stability issues. So, if your home is in a flood zone, there's typically flood insurance required, and your insurance professional can provide you with additional information regarding that. Anytime I talk about a firm foundation, it definitely reminds me of the firm foundations that we need in our lives as well. And the core values and beliefs that we have and that we lean on really help us to be able to navigate the unexpected situations that come up as life normally does. And so, keeping in mind that having a firm foundation also in God provides us with the trust that we know that regardless of what the storms bring, regardless of how heavy the winds are or how big the waves are, that we have our lives built on the firm foundation of the Lord. And regardless of what those things look like, we can trust and know that God will take care of it and everything will be fine. So, just as the firm foundation of our faith and the firm foundation of our homes, it's significant in knowing that we are building on something strong and firm. I really appreciate you all sticking with me in viewing this segment on firm foundations, learning the difference between concrete slabs, crawl spaces, and the firm foundation that we have in God. I pray that you continue to visit back, definitely subscribe, hit the like, comment, please share with your friends if you found this information useful. And I just pray that I continue to be able to help you and support you in where you live and how you live. I'll see you next time.